Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to tonight's call. It is Wednesday, July 9th. Clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones will be joining us for tonight's discussion, Increasing Your Brain Power Through Hypnosis. And for those of you who don't know, Steve G. Jones has been practicing hypnotherapy since the 1980s. He is the author of 22 books on hypnotherapy. He's a member of the National Guild of Hypnotists, American Board of Hypnotherapy, president of the American Alliance of Hypnotists, on the board of directors of the Los Angeles chapter of the American Lung Association, and the director of the California State Registered Steve G. Jones School of Hypnotherapy. Steve holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Florida, a master's degree in education from Armstrong Atlantic State University, and is currently working on a doctorate in education at Georgia Southern University. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the call clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones. Steve, are you with us?
I am, Frank, and what a wonderful show we have this evening.
Absolutely, Steve. I'm looking forward to this information tonight. Very interesting topic, brain power.
Absolutely, and everybody wants to know how to improve their memory, how to work not necessarily harder, but smarter with their brains. We all have a brain. Why not use it to its full potential? And, before we go on, Frank, I think people should know who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Frank Magano. He is a consumer health advocate and natural health writer who has authored and published hundreds of articles pertaining to natural health. He's the author of 3 best-selling books pertaining to natural health and is an independent researcher. Frank, as always, it's an honor to be on tonight's call with you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Same here, and I'm looking forward to get started. So, Steve, before we begin any teleconference, what I normally do is research the topic, and I try to find out as much information as I possibly can on the particular topic that we're going to be discussing. And in tonight's case, this would be brain power. And there's a lot of speculation out there, and I'm sure many people who are listening to this call have heard that we only use 10% of our brain power. And I was hoping that you can shed some light on that issue for us. Now, is that true or is that false, that we only use 10% of our brain power?
Well, it's really not exactly true. And when I say not exactly true, what I mean is you can make it true by believing in it, and there have been quote-unquote demonstrations showing that it's quote-unquote true, but really we do use quite a bit more than that. Now, the exact amount we don't really know because that's such a difficult thing to measure. And if we were to try to measure how much of the potential do we use, well, we don't even know the full potential of our brains. But we are going to talk tonight about using the full potential, even though I feel it can't be measured. But we can still tap into that full range of possibilities that are available in the brain. Now, when people say that you only use 10% of your brain and other people believe that, that's dangerous. That locks us, that hypnotizes us. That locks us into only using a small amount. We start to think that 90% of our brain isn't necessary, or we'll never use it, or we'll never know what it's for. And that's simply not reality for you and I, Frank, because we know better, and I'm hoping that for our listeners it will also become no longer reality, that they're stuck in that 10% trap.
Well, that's well said, Steve, and a very good point as well, and I was going to ask that to you. So, in other words, basically what you're saying is that if someone is doing the reading and they come across, these different websites or, wherever they may obtain the information, and that it says that we're only using that 10%, does that really put a limit on it? And does that mean for that particular person that's all that they're that's the only, as much as the part of their brain that they're going to use?
Absolutely, and that's the negative side of hypnosis. You can hypnotize yourself into believing things like that, and that can become your reality. That's why when people say, oh, I don't know about hypnosis, I don't know if I want my mind controlled and so forth, if you don't take control of your mind, someone else will. And information like this will control your mind. If you believe that you're limited in anything in life, in money, in success, in happiness, in what you can have and what you can do and what you can be and how much love you can feel, if you believe with all of your heart that you're limited, that you can only have 10% of the love you should have, 10% of the money you should have, or use 10% of your brain, yes, that's going to absolutely limit you. So that's the hypnosis that many have lived with for years, and tonight we're going to break through all of that.
Well said, Steve, and those are certainly excellent examples. So let me ask you this. Let's get right down to it. How exactly does hypnotherapy increase your brain power? What can hypnosis do for someone if they feel that they're not reaching their maximum limits?
Well, I think to make it simple for everyone, myself included, why don't we take a look at gethypnosis.com. That's G-E-T, hypnosis, H-Y-P-N-O-S-I-S, gethypnosis.com. And the top link there
is the first one. It says brain power.
Right. Just go ahead and click on that. And that's what I'm going to use as a guide tonight. Now, this talks about something that you can get at a very reasonable price, but that's not exactly what we're talking about tonight. What we're talking about is using this as a teaching tool. Now, if you want my help in doing that, of course, go ahead and get the Brain Power Titanium series mentioned there. But I want everyone to go over there to gethypnosis.com and click on Brain Power just to look at that. Because even if you don't use this program, you can use the information that's here. Because what I've done is I've put up the 12 areas that I believe are essential in increasing your brain power. A multi-dimensional approach, not just increasing things such as memory or how smart you are, but going beyond that and getting into the metaphysical realm, increasing your brain in ways that you may not even have thought that it can be increased in, but it can.
And Steve, that leads me to my next question, and I see the outline here, and I noticed that you picked 12 areas, 12 topics in which you believe need to be improved in order to increase your brain power. So I would like to start with memory. How does memory play a role in this?
Okay, well, memory is one of, when people think about, losing their minds or becoming senile or things like that, not necessarily losing their minds in terms of becoming quote-unquote crazy, but just things are starting to slip a little bit. The old joke is memory is the first thing to go, and I don't remember the second thing. So memory comes to mind when people think of brain power deteriorating. A good test of whether your brain is in great shape or not is how good is your memory. But this can be misleading. Some people just don't have good techniques for using their memory. They have an excellent memory, but they don't have a way to use their memory that works for them. So this recording, now even if we're not talking in terms of recording, what you need to work on is your memory. One of the 12 things that you need to work on to increase your brain power is your memory. Now there are specific techniques you can use, many of which are covered on this recording, but I want to teach those to our listeners this evening so that you will have those, so that you can use those. So again, we're looking at gethypnosis.com, and we're looking at the brain power section. And to increase your memory, you can do several things. Frank, have you ever met someone and for some reason they just remind you of something, whether it's an object or a cartoon character or even someone else?
Oh, sure. That's a very familiar scenario.
Okay. Now, what we want to do with that is we want to use something called a mnemonic device. Now, a mnemonic device is nothing new. I didn't invent it. It's been around a long time. And that's something that allows you to relate them to something else that helps you remember their name. So, for example, now let's take a really simple, easy one that probably will never happen. You'll probably never get this lucky, but let's say the person's name is Mr. Schnoz, okay? And schnoz, from my experience, is a slang word for nose, okay? And let's say that Mr. Schnoz happens to have a larger than average nose. Well, that would be a really easy one to remember, wouldn't it?
Sure.
Okay, because remember, Mr. Schnoz and his nose is of a larger than average size, well, you can easily remember his name because of that. Now, you probably, as I said, won't get that lucky, but a lot of times if you pay attention and look for relations, you will find that if you meet someone, you can relate their name to something else. Maybe it's Mrs., well, this probably won't happen either, but Mrs. Blue, and she always seems sad. Mrs. Blue always seems sad. Well, blue means sad. That's the connotation of the word. Blue means sad. And so you can easily remember her name that way. So start looking for things that relate to their names. That's going to improve your memory. And the funny thing is, once we start improving our memory, we find that we get more confident. And when we become more confident in our memory, it begins improving itself even more, because once you show your brain that you can do it, your brain just kind of takes the ball and runs with it. It thinks, okay, I've been successful here. Now I'm going to be successful in this, and in this, and in this, and things become easier to remember, and your memory starts improving on its own. It's kind of a snowball effect. So that's what I want to teach everyone tonight about memory, a simple technique, a mnemonic device. And another way to use mnemonic devices, by the way, is in test taking. If you have a list of things to remember, for example, the planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and I guess Pluto's no longer a planet, or at least they say so. So we would then remember the familiar phrase, which I learned in 4th grade, and many people have learned it, my very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas. And that helps you remember the names of the planets in order, because the first letter of every word in that sentence relates to the first letter of all of the planets in order, going outward from the sun. So things like that can be very helpful. Those are called mnemonic devices. I suggest practicing them. But this recording at gethypnosis.com, under the Brain Power section, month number 1, Better Memory, is all about that. So the first thing I recommend that you do when you want to improve your memory, which is the first step toward improving your brain power, is implement mnemonic devices in your life whenever you can.
And that makes a lot of sense too, Steve. And I think that the technique that you just shared with everyone, I think that that's actually very helpful in helping to increase your memory about a particular topic.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to share. I'm always glad to help people learn whether they want to use hypnosis or not. I want them to be successful and powerful in their lives.
Wonderful. And Steve, at this time, if you don't mind, I'd like to open up the phone lines before we continue. I noticed that the switchboard is lighting up here with calls. I'd like to take a couple of calls.
Oh, certainly.
Okay. I'm sure everyone has some questions for you. And ladies and gentlemen, what I'll do is just call out your area code, and when you recognize your area code, just introduce yourself. And right now we have a caller here with area code 717. Caller area code 717. Are you with us?
I'm here.
Hi, good evening. Who are we speaking with?
I'm Roger.
How are you, Roger?
I am great tonight.
Excellent. We're talking live with Steve G. Jones. Do you have a question for Steve, Roger?
Well, I came in a little bit late here, so I'm just catching up, so you have to forgive me for that.
Not a problem. Okay. Well, tonight we're talking about brain power, Roger, and Steve is sharing some techniques on how to increase your brain power and memory and things of that nature. Do you have any specific questions on that topic?
Not offhand. I just would wondered if there's any supplements you might recommend for some people if they're like mineral or vitamin deficient or anything like that.
Steve?
Well, that's more of Frank's area of expertise. I'm going to defer to Frank. He's a natural health writer. So, Frank, why don't you take that one?
Sure. Well, better memory, Roger, basically something that will benefit someone in terms of memory is increasing oxygen throughout the body, increasing oxygen to the brain. And as far as supplements are concerned, something you may want to look into is a substance called coenzyme Q10. I'm not sure if you...
that, Frank?
Coenzyme Q10.
Is that CO, like CO-enzyme?
Enzyme Q10, that's correct.
Great.
And basically what this substance will do, Roger, it helps increase oxygen flow throughout the body, and to the brain, and it has been documented that with an adequate supply of oxygen to the brain, there's a number of different benefits that come along with that, and one of them being being able to improve your memory.
Okay. Is there anyone who shouldn't take something like that if they have any particular medical problems?
Well, sure. What I always tell people, Roger, before starting on any particular supplement, always get the approval of a qualified healthcare practitioner. The supplement is safe, but you always want to be on the safe side, and being that you may have some existing medical conditions or you may be on particular types of medication, it's always a safe bet to get the advice of a qualified healthcare practitioner prior to beginning any new supplements.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Roger. Thank you for calling. Okay, moving along here, Steve, I'm going to open up the lines for another call.
Okay.
And right now we have a caller on the line, area code 718. Caller, area code 718. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, Frank. Hi, Steve.
Good evening. Who are we speaking with?
Denise from New York.
Hi, Denise. How are you this evening?
Okay, I'm fine.
Excellent.
First,
you have a question for Steve?
Well, sure I do. But I'd like to say that hypnosis is, in my opinion, not one way to open the powers of our brain, but the only way. I'd like to start off with that. And, Steve, I have your tapes. CDs,
well said.
And I will say you're magnificent.
Oh, thank you.
Anybody has a problem sleeping out there, you won't have it any longer.
I have a very
5 minutes,
boring
you're
voice.
out.
What's that, Denise?
I said 5 minutes, you're out.
Yeah, I have a very boring voice. People have to be careful.
No, it's very soothing. It's very penetrating. It's perfect for what
wonderful.
you do.
Thank you, Denise.
Okay, and yes, I have two questions. We use 1/10 of our brain. Is there evidence today that we are using more now?
Well, as we very good question, Denise, and as we mentioned at the beginning of the call, to believe that we use 1/10 of our brain, first of all, it would be very difficult to prove that we use 1/10 because we're talking about something that's of infinite capacity. So it's difficult to have a percentage of something that's on an infinite scale. If it was, if there are 10 things that our brain could do and we were only doing one of those things, we could say that's 10%. But the whole idea of 10% is, I would say, and I believe, Frank, tell me if you believe this or not, that it's a myth.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So, and you think about it in logical terms, in mathematical terms, it's simply not possible to have that because of the possibilities that we have in our brain. The possibilities are infinite. So to have 10% of something infinite just mathematically doesn't work out. So first of all, let go of that, Denise. Let go of the fact that you're limited because you're not. Secondly, given the fact that you have unlimited potential, you can increase it even beyond that. You can increase it beyond that today through using hypnosis. I mean, if you want my help, the best way I can help you is to send you to gethypnosis.com and to have you go to the brain power option there and go ahead and get a download right now. You get a download right now sent to your computer. You get a link to it, and you can download it as you're speaking to me. You can do that. It's less than $20. So that's the best way to do it. And then you'll get a more also. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, my second question is, what is the most powerful experience you have seen as far as what the brain is capable of, you personally?
Can you repeat that question, please?
Sure. What is the most powerful experience you have seen as far as what the brain is capable of?
Okay, that's a very good question, and I would direct you again, just for reference this time, to gethypnosis.com and to the Brain Power series. And down there on month 11, we address past life regression. Now, this is a series that you can get for only $18.95. So that's what that is. But I'm also using it as a teaching tool tonight. If you want to do this on your own, you can. And so I would direct you there. And in month number 11, we talk about past life regression. The most amazing thing that I've seen that the brain can do. Now, you may or may not believe in past lives, I don't know, but the most amazing thing that I've seen that the brain can do is store information which may not even be related to this life at all. That kind of thing, when I hear about it, makes me think, wow, what we're dealing with is not simply a three-dimensional object that we can hold in our hand known as the brain. It's something known as the mind, which is even more powerful than the brain. It's something that's not limited by weight or length or width or height or anything like that, or time. It's apparently timeless. So the most amazing thing I've seen people do with their brains or their minds is reveal information about lives which may not even be within this lifetime.
Would you consider the brain the soul?
No, the brain itself I would consider just to be an organ. The mind,
the energy around it.
Maybe, and we may be disagreeing with semantics here. Yes, what I believe you are calling the brain and the energy around it, I would consider the soul, because that contains the information about us. Now, I would call it the mind, just a different word, but to say the brain and the energy around it, yes, I would call it the soul.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very, very much, and keep up the great work you're doing.
Well, thank you, Denise.
Thank you, Denise. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you. And Steve, if you don't mind, I just wanted to briefly touch on her question. What she wanted to know what we thought, or what you thought that the limits are of the brain. Just from my own personal experience, Steve, I just want to say I don't think that there are any.
No, I don't think there are either. I mean, we have an unlimited potential, and that means that we don't even know what it's capable of, except when there are moments of enlightenment that we all have when we really know we're operating at a higher level. And that's what we want to get everyone to, that higher level where they really know. They still don't know the full potential of the brain, but they know they're operating at an accelerated rate, way above what they normally operate at when they get up and brush their teeth and go to work and come home and watch TV and go to bed. They somehow feel that they're floating above all of that and doing something with their minds that is much more powerful. They're able to figure things out in their lives, why this happened, why that happened. They're able to make plans. They're able to remember. They're able to focus and concentrate. They're even able to see more clearly because the brain itself is able to function better. So these are the kinds of things we're talking about, and we may never know and be able to measure the full potential of the brain, but we do know that there's an average at which most people operate, and we want to, with GetHypnosis.com and the Brain Power series, we want to get people way, way, way above that average.
Oh, well said. Well, let's go back to the phone lines here. And we have a caller, area code 626. Can you hear us? Caller, area code 626. All right. We may run into a couple of shy people here tonight, Steve.
That's fine. As I always say, maybe they're in deep hypnosis.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to another caller here. Caller, area code 210. 210. Can you hear us? Caller, area code 210. Okay. Let's bounce around here. Caller with area code 813. 813. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Hi, good evening. Who are we speaking with?
My name's Bill.
How are you this evening, Bill?
I'm excellent.
Great. Bill, you have a question for Steve?
Well, actually, I have two. The first one is I'm in the Titanium Abundance series, but I see that there's at least 3 or 4 others that I would be interested in. How would one go about handling 2 or more of these at the same time?
Okay, that's a great question, Bill, and we appreciate you asking that. The Brain Power one is actually one to get if you want to do that. The reason, now what Bill's talking about is at GetHypnosis.com, he signed up for the Abundance Titanium series, which is our high level of technology, coming to you at about 1/20th of the price it would normally be. It's only $18.95 a month. You get one recording every month sent to you. In this case, Bill's talking about abundance, so it's about increasing the wealth that you have, the love that you have in your life, and making you a fulfilled, abundant person. Bill's question is that he now sees that at gethypnosis.com there are several lines of hypnosis recordings that you can get on a monthly basis. How would you kind of balance that? We have brain power, we have success, we have mental health, we have business success. There are a few of them. The reason we normally say focus on one at a time per night is because a lot of people tend to limit themselves mentally. They have not expanded their mind yet to retain all of the information. If you're using the Brain Power Titanium membership, that is going to take care of that, because as you listen to that series of recordings every month, your brain power is going to increase to the point, your mind power, whatever you want to call it, is going to increase to the point where you can absorb more and you can apply more. So if you're going to use several recording series at one time, as long as the Brain Power series is one of them, you will be okay. And here's how you do it. Let's say that you're using the fitness success for physical fitness. Let's say you're using that Titanium series. Just go ahead and add the Brain Power series, and then you would listen. Then you'll have 2 recordings coming every month. You're supposed to listen to them every night for a month. Then you switch to the next one. We have 2 of them. So what do? You just alternate nights. One night you listen to one. The next night you listen to the other. The next night back to the first one, then the other. Do that for a month, and then switch to the next one. Let's say you have 3. Same thing. You do a series of 3 days. Series 1, one night. Series 2, the next night. Series 3, the next night. Then you start over, and you do that for a month. Then the next recording comes in the series. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how you do it, and that's how I do it, by the way. I use this series, and I use 5 of them. So I'm on a 5-night rotating schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you're saving time, and you're really ramping yourself up for success in a number of areas at the same time.
All right, my second question, I don't know, it kind of goes along with the concept of brain power. I have been told for many, many years that in the situation of multiple personalities, that there's supposed to be at least one case on record where one personality had blue eyes and then 30 seconds later the next personality had brown. Do you know if there's any reality to this? Because to me that would indicate that the brain has absolute control over the body.
That's very interesting. Now, I have not heard about that one, but I'm not disputing it. I'm not saying that it didn't happen or that it's not possible. It's quite possible that it did happen. I don't know what controls eye color and how changeable it is. I do know that with my own eyes, my eyes are hazel, but sometimes people say, oh, you have such nice blue eyes, or sometimes people say, oh, you have such nice green eyes. And I'm not saying that I have multiple personalities, hopefully not, but I do know that there can be some variation within someone's eyes, even when they don't have multiple personalities. So, and many people have seen this, and I've heard this many times in my life, that people have a certain eye color, but sometimes their eyes look a different color. Usually green and blue are the fluctuations I hear with myself, but I've heard other color variations with other people. So I would say that's quite possible. Now, concerning a complete color change, I don't know, especially when you're talking day to day or moment to moment. That may be something that we'd have to look into. But in terms of minor changes, I know those happen normally anyway. And other things that happen with multiple personalities are skin color changes. I'm not saying changing from being a black person to being a white person, but I'm saying pigmentation changes in terms of maybe a more reddish tint when someone is one personality and maybe a flushed white appearance, almost like a ghost color. They say white is a ghost, white is a sheet or something when they're another personality. So physiological changes do happen based on the personality changes. So the eye color thing probably has some merit to it.
Well, I do know that it's relatively common for the different personalities to have different allergies.
Yes, and that allergies we know are psychosomatic, meaning that they are based in what you believe. Your beliefs are causing you to have those allergies. Now, there can be, and there are in many cases, organic causes for that, but in many cases, that's why we have an allergy recording, hypnosis-wise, because many allergies are psychosomatic. You believe you have the allergy, and guess what? You do have the allergy. You stop believing you have it, and you stop having the allergy.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. When you get into the mind, it's a big place. Lots of interesting things happen in it.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Wonderful call.
Thank you, Bill. And ladies and gentlemen, we're talking live with clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones, and Steve is sharing his favorite techniques and the ones that he believes to be the most effective on increasing your brain power. Now, Steve, at this time, I'd like to go back, and I'd like to now talk about your next topic, and basically on GetHypnosis.com, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow along with us, GetHypnosis.com. The next topic that you have listed here, Steve, is prevent Alzheimer's disease. So now my question to you is, why did you pick this particular topic to fit into the Brain Power series?
Well, we all want to make sure that near the end of the road, we're not coming down with anything debilitating, senility, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, anything like that. We want to make sure that those things which are usually associated with advanced age are not going to get a hold of us. And by the way, I just went to the website, gethypnosis.com, and I clicked on the Brain Power Titanium series, the one I was talking about, where you get for only $18.95 a month, you get a download every month, and I saw that people are just buying these up. So thank you, callers, for taking advantage of the special offer. I think that's a wonderful way to go. And again, that's at gethypnosis.com, the Brain Power series. But we're just looking at it as a template right now, and we want to look at Alzheimer's disease, preventing Alzheimer's disease. Now, this is potentially something that you would maybe not be so likely to handle on your own. I say that to increase brain power, you need to do certain things. You need to increase your memory. Of course, we heard earlier that you need to increase the oxygen to your brain, and you need to prevent Alzheimer's disease. So you may be looking at that and thinking, well, Steve, how am I supposed to prevent Alzheimer's disease? This might be something where you want to get the series to help you. However, although we don't know for sure that Alzheimer's disease is related to aluminum in the brain, we do know that there's a high correlation of autopsies revealing excess aluminum in the brain and those people having Alzheimer's disease. So in scientific research, we need to keep in mind correlation does not imply cause and effect. Just because I do a dance, which I don't do, but if I were to, just because I do a dance before sunrise and the sun comes up, doesn't mean that my dance caused the sun to come up. Correlation does not imply cause and effect. Sometimes things just happen coincidentally. That could be the case. It could be that these cadavers, which are autopsied, and they find aluminum in the brain, and the person happened to have Alzheimer's disease. It could be just coincidence. We don't know yet. But there's a lot of correlation there. It's got to mean something. Something's going on, and I believe that eventually we'll find that aluminum does cause that. So just to be on the safe side, one of the things we're addressing is keeping you away from things which are going to cause aluminum to build up in your brain. We don't want that. Also, keeping you away from other things that are health risks. That's also covered on this recording. And that's also something you can do to increase your brain power on an ongoing basis to make sure that you don't come down with something debilitating like Alzheimer's disease eventually. You want to keep yourself in peak physical shape. You want to make sure you eat right. You want to make sure you rest properly, and so forth. Those sorts of things are going to help you prevent Alzheimer's disease.
Well said, Steve. At this time, I want to just switch back over to our lines here. I notice someone keeps calling in. Let's see if we can get them on the line here. Caller, it's showing up an area code 111. That's probably an international call. 111, can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Am I the one?
You are the one. You are the lucky caller. Good evening.
I am. I just wanted to thank Steve so much. I've bought a lot of his products in the past, especially the Love Magnetism thing. And it's uncanny the way this product works. And I was one of the biggest skeptics on this whole thing. I'm an educator. I was really impressed in the fact that he has a master's in education, and he's getting a doctorate, I believe, too, right, in education right now, Steve? Yeah?
Yes, I am.
One of the things that I'd love to see more of is hypnosis in education. It's something that I haven't seen at all in the classrooms, maybe at the college level, but I'm very interested to see how possibly hypnosis can be implemented into curriculums. I think that would be definitely groundbreaking and so beneficial to so many people.
I fully agree with that, and I don't know if you are, but I'm a member of Pi Lambda Theta, the International Honor Society for Educators. Are you a member? Okay.
I am not, no.
Okay, something you may want to look into joining. A group with that kind of power could help make that change, and that's what I'm pushing for in that group right now. But also I've done a lot of research with graduate students that I'm publishing about increasing their test scores using hypnosis. So give it time, and it will happen, but I fully agree with you. We need to get hypnosis into the classroom.
Yes, absolutely. I think the benefits would just be incredible. But, time is definitely the key, because I know a lot of people are still skeptical. How did you get into this? And maybe you already addressed that a while ago. I'm sorry, I just called in.
No, that's quite all right. You mean, how did I get into hypnosis?
Correct.
Well, I became involved in hypnosis when I was in high school, and I got a book by Leslie Lecron. He wrote a book called something like An Introduction to Hypnosis, a little paperback book. I think it was 150 pages. And I was in military school at the time, in high school, and I was I was in 10th grade, and I started. You'd have to say victimizing my roommates. We're all stuck there in a military school. So there are three of us in a room connected by a little hallway to three more, and that's the way the rooms were. A lot of people together. So I started hypnotizing them, making them scratch their noses and stuff, giving them post-hypnotic suggestions. Well, it very quickly occurred to me, even as a young boy, that this could be used for good. So suddenly the athletes started coming to me, asking me to hypnotize them to be faster, and the smart kids started to come to me, asking me to hypnotize them to study more efficiently and so forth. And that was in the early 80s when I was a 10th grader in high school, in a military school. And then once I got I graduated high school in 1985 and began studies in psychology at the University of Florida right after that. And then that was, I guess that's been 23 years since that. So nothing's really changed, except now the smart people that I've had the honor to work with are people from NASA, and the athletes I've had the honor to work with are people from the Dodgers baseball team. But aside from those changes in prestige, I guess, I'm using the same techniques that I was long ago. I've just really refined a lot of them and made them more powerful. I've let go of what doesn't work, and I've added some more techniques which really have made a tremendous difference.
Excellent. Well, I got to tell you, your product is definitely awesome. The Love Magnetism thing is amazing. I've actually lost weight from that. I'm attributing to that, and it's a strange situation. I've lost 8 pounds that I can't account for. I haven't been going to the gym or anything like that, but it's very interesting the way. I don't know. I listen to it every night as I fall asleep, and it's the results have been fantastic. And I just wanted to thank you because it's I don't know. You got a great product going, and hopefully more people will buy into it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you calling in and sharing that. And Love Magnetism is something we could all use, even if we're not in the dating scene. We could use it with our loved one to increase the love that they feel towards us. And of course, when we increase the love that we're getting in our lives, it's because we've made a change in ourselves. We've loved ourselves more, and we've become more lovable and more giving and so forth. So if you increase the love in your life, it really means that you've made a positive change in yourself, and I'm glad to be a facilitator for that.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, and keep up the great work.
Well, thank you. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Okay. And Steve, at this time, I'd like to just jump back to the series. And I noticed that the next thing that you talk about after preventing Alzheimer's disease is avoid overanalyzing.
Right. We've got this tremendous thing called the brain or the mind or whatever you want to call it, and it needs to be directed in the right way. It's like overanalyzing is like having a Lamborghini and driving it off a cliff at full speed. Okay, so a Lamborghini is a $450,000 car. It's state-of-the-art. It's got everything you need to go fast. But if you're taking it and driving it quickly off a cliff, what sense does that make? Well, overanalyzing is a waste of our minds and a waste of our times. You've got all this tremendous power. Why not speed down the road toward a destination? Why not take that Lamborghini, that's your brain or your mind, and head where you want to go, where you're going to accomplish something, where you're going to do something fun, where you're going to do something great. You're driving it off a cliff if you're overanalyzing. People get so caught up in over-processing information, and this usually comes as a result of low self-esteem. If we feel bad about ourselves and we feel that we have to overthink things, we have to outthink people, we have to always, overthink things before we make a move, things like that. Well, a certain amount of that is fine, and people may be trying to outthink you, and maybe you need to be aware of that and spend some mental power on that, but not an excessive amount of mental power. This recording helps you accomplish those things you need to do in terms of analysis without wasting unnecessary brain power on it, so you can get back to doing what you do. And now, again, for those and I see there are many, many people calling in, and we'll try to get to some of you, but this is a very popular topic. If we go to gethypnosis.com and we look at the Brain Power Titanium series, this is something that I've developed that you can get for only $18.95 a month and download it. You can get the first one right now, and then one a month comes. These are normally much more expensive than this, but we're just using that right now as a template in case you want to do this on your own. So we're looking at the brain power section, and then what Frank was talking about was month 3, which we've covered for you, overanalyzing, avoid overanalyzing. This is something you can do on your own. Just stop overanalyzing. Whether you use my recording to do it or you just do it on your own, just stop overanalyzing things. Realize that you are an intelligent person. You are a powerful person. You can spend a certain amount of time on something, analyzing it, but then move on. Let that be okay. Let that be good enough. And then you move on to the next thing. This way you create speed and momentum in your life, and you do the things that you want to do. You accomplish the goals that you really want to accomplish.
Okay, wonderful. And moving along, Steve, the next thing I'd like to know more about here is rapid decision-making.
Okay, well, rapid decision-making is something we can all use. How many times do we deliberate over something? And it kind of ties in with overanalyzing. That's why we put it in the following month, so they can go hand in hand and build on each other. If you are overanalyzing something, you may not get to a decision. But once you get over that, then you can make decisions rapidly. And a lot of decisions need to be made rapidly. You need to just decide, do I want the chocolate ice cream or the vanilla ice cream? Because really it doesn't matter. Just go ahead and make a decision. Now, some decisions, should I buy this building, which is $1.2 billion, or that building, which is $1.4 billion? Let's say you're Donald Trump and you're just trying to decide which building to buy next. Well, maybe that requires a little more thinking. But let's face it, if you're Donald Trump, you already know where all the pieces go financially. You already know all this stuff. So why are you taking forever to decide? It's because of a lack of confidence again. So we're going to take your confidence to the next level and help you make decisions rapidly, help you knock out these decisions so that you can move forward, whether it's in your love life or your business life or your personal financial life or your school life or whatever it is. Let's make those decisions using the knowledge we have and move onward to the next decision.
And Steve, I just want to point out, it seems that there are a lot of things here that go along with this, a lot of things that take part in increasing someone's potential to use their brain, to use their mind, because I've noticed you've said self-esteem, confidence, so I've noticed there's a bunch of different things that come into play here.
Oh, absolutely. And anytime we increase our confidence, we're going to increase our ability to use our brains. And you can see this as the wonderful educator who called in a little while ago was talking about. We need hypnosis in the classrooms. And it's not some scary thing. It's just a matter of giving people the confidence they need to take tests better and to study better and to learn more and to believe in themselves. If you sit in a test and you're nervous and you don't believe in yourself, your scores are going to be lower than if you sat at that test and you were calm and you believed in yourself. That's given the same amount of knowledge. You can have the same amount of studying under your belt, and you can be in two different situations. One, where you're not believing in yourself. The other, where you are believing in yourself, and your scores, and we can demonstrate this, your scores are going to be higher if you're in a calm, relaxed situation and you believe in yourself. So why not give yourself that competitive advantage?
And Steve, I just want to go on record for saying this. As a natural health advocate, you're aware that I've promoted hypnosis for a very long time now. I am all in favor of having hypnotherapy being brought into the classrooms. I think it would bring on so many positive benefits for children.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And most of my higher education experience has been in educating adults and working in higher education, educating graduate students, for example. But it all starts when you're a kid. If we can reach the children and help them improve themselves, well, you've set them up for a lifetime of success.
Very true. Okay, moving along. Now, here's an interesting one, Steve. Develop ESP. How does this fit into the brain powers, developing ESP?
Well, good question. And for those of you just joining us, just to get you on literally the same page as us, if you go to gethypnosis.com, just type that in now, gethypnosis.com, and click on the Brain Power series. We're talking about a series of recordings that you can get. You can get the first one right now when you sign up. But we're also using this as a template to see how you can improve your life all by yourself if you want to. So the next one, month 5, if you use my process, month 5 you'll receive a recording for Develop ESP. Now, we talked at the beginning of the call how we're not just talking about memorizing things better and getting smarter. We're talking about more than that. We're talking about developing your brain in ways that you might not have even thought of. You might not have even thought are possible. Develop ESP is developing that sixth sense, the one that goes beyond touching and feeling and smelling and so forth. It goes beyond that. It's the one where you call someone up and you talk about the song that was just in your head, and they say, "That's funny. I was just listening to that song on the radio. That happened to me the other day. Happened to me 2 days ago." That's what we're talking about, that uncanny experience, the kind of stuff that happens to us from time to time, and we kind of let it go. We think, oh, maybe that was coincidence. But think about the odds of that being coincidence. I mean, I'm a doctoral graduate student. I study statistics. I know the odds are astronomical. What are the odds that I would have that song in my head out of countless songs out there that I know, and that person will be listening to that song out of countless songs that are played on the radio? This was not a top hit. This was an oldie. This was a song from about 25 years ago. The odds are astronomical against that happening. It's just one of those things that doesn't happen by chance. Something's controlling it. And what I believe is controlling it is my ability to tap into what that person is thinking using my ESP, my extrasensory perception. Now, if I can do that, then I've gone way beyond increasing my normal brain power. I've increased my capacity to use my brain in ways that are not measurable, in ways that to a lot of people don't even make sense. That's how far I've taken this. So I want you to take it that far also. I want you to have that ability. I want you to have those moments where you think, wow, how did that happen? My goodness, there must be something more to my brain than I've been taught. And so that's why that's in there, develop ESP.
Very interesting. Okay, so moving along, let's talk about meditation.
Okay, well, meditation is something that's going to help you center yourself and focus yourself and really delve into who you are. When you have all of these powers and all of these abilities, you've got to take time for yourself. You've got to take time to center yourself, to focus yourself, to clean out your brain, to let it do all its chitter-chatter and let all that get out, and then fill it with something good. And that's what meditation is. That's what meditation does. So one of the keys to having brain power, unlimited brain power, is to meditate. You need to meditate on a regular basis. Now, at gethypnosis.com, under the Brain Power series, you'll see that we put that in there. But whether you get that series or not, I want to make sure that you are taking time every day to meditate. And it doesn't mean that you have to have a meditation room and you have to sit in some kind of contorted position and you have to sit with your back upright and feel uncomfortable. It doesn't mean any of that. You can meditate while you vacuum a carpet. You can meditate while you put dishes in the dishwasher. You can meditate while you drive down the road. You can take time for yourself and clear your mind, let all that chatter come up to the surface, and then let it go, and find that tranquil place in your mind, and then start to figure out what you want to do that day, and what you want to do in a year, and what you want to do in 5 years, and how you want to improve your brain, and think about all the positive changes you've already made, and all the ones you're going to make, and how you can contribute to the world, that sort of thing. That opens your mind. That improves your brain power.
And there's no surprise there, Steve. There's been countless studies that have been done on the benefits of meditation, so that it would seem obvious that would fit into this.
Absolutely. Meditation calms you down, and you know that, Frank, as a natural health writer, calms you down, relieves stress, and will actually increase the length of your life.
Absolutely. And moving along, here's another interesting one, Steve, astral projection.
Astral projection is another example, I would say, another example of me putting things in here that you might not expect. Astral projection is something that will open your mind beyond anything else that you've ever done. If you've never experienced astral projection, you need to. Go out and get a book on it, or Google it, or go ahead and get the series at gethypnosis.com under the Brain Power series. You need to experience astral projection. Astral projection is, in essence, the concept that you are more than just this body. You are a soul living in a body, like a driver living in a car. And astral projection gives you the ability to separate the two consciously at will, so that you can free yourself of the trap of thinking that you are just this flesh and these bones and these muscles and so forth, that you're stuck in this body. Bodies are wonderful things, and for most of us, we have the ability to get around, and there aren't many limitations. But when you add astral projection, you then get rid of the limitations that you have that you didn't realize you have. Because once you realize that you are a soul living in a body, there are a lot of things you can do that aren't limited by time or space. So I encourage you to look into that, either on your own or through this program.
Okay, and moving along now, here's something I know you get asked about almost off on a daily basis on this topic, so I'll be interested to hear how this plays a role in brain power. Kundalini activation. Okay.
And again, we have an example of activating your brain on what I would call a fourth dimensional level rather than a third dimensional level. And Kundalini activation is simply raising the natural power that you have. Now, different people look at Kundalini in a different way. Even if you didn't believe in anything metaphysical or hypnosis or anything like that, this recording is going to give you more energy like you've never quite come into contact with if you haven't raised your Kundalini. Kundalini, in a metaphysical sense, is the serpent force that resides at the base of the spine, and that's the definition from the Eastern philosophies. And when we raise the Kundalini, we raise the energy to do whatever it is we want to do. Stay up studying, use our psychic powers, increase our memory, whatever it is we want to do, whatever our personal goals are. So Kundalini activation is something that I think is essential when we're talking about brain power, because it's of a metaphysical nature. So we've got a holistic brain power approach. We're not just talking about memorizing flashcards or saying you're smarter every day. We're talking about tapping into your real metaphysical power, the power that powers your soul to do things. And so when we raise that Kundalini, we then have access to parts of our brain which we would normally not have access to. It turns them on. It flips a switch and turns them to the on position so that we can use them and we can be revved up to work at that higher level.
Okay. And moving along, Steve, this next one is, for me anyways, obvious how it would play a role in developing brain power. Concentration and focus. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, concentration and focus are two essential things, and they are, of course, part of meditation. And again, for those just tuning in, we're looking at gethypnosis.com, and we're looking at the Brain Power series. This is a series of downloads you can get. I see many people have signed up during this call, and it's wonderful, taking advantage of the special offer we have for only $18.95, whereas normally these recordings are a couple $100 each. They're only $18.95. You can get the first one right now. But we're talking about focus and concentration. Focus and concentration are two things that we need to have. And if we think about our analogy of the Lamborghini, of the brain being like a really fast car, well, if you're not focused and concentrating, you're going to swerve all over the road. You could be driving down a desert road and driving off the road into the mountains and crashing. That's what lack of focus does. We never quite get to point B from point A because we're not taking a direct route. We're not focusing on our goal. We're not concentrating. So when you have all this power of memory and you've been meditating, you've raised the Kundalini, you have this ESP, well, what if you're just walking around with all of that power and not doing anything with it? I remember when I was going to the University of Florida, there were several homeless people there who I talked to. I had the good fortune of talking to them, finding out what their story was. Some of these people were former PhD students. They were brilliant people. One of them was a physicist, and he was homeless. Now, that could have been caused by any number of things. He could have had some kind of chemical disorder, could have had some bad luck, who knows. But when you think about the steps that he had to take in order to get from where he was to where he was when I saw him, he had to get off the road. He had to take this tremendous, powerful Lamborghini, which was his mind, and he had to drive it off the road. And all of us are capable of getting off the road by not focusing and not concentrating. We want to make sure that you, and all of us have the potential that this guy had. All of us have not the potential to become homeless, but the potential to be a great person in our field. We all have that potential, but we also have the potential to get distracted. And so we want to make sure, and this recording ensures it, that you are taking all of those powers that you have and keeping them focused on something, moving toward a goal. Whatever it is for you, we want you to focus and concentrate on that.
Okay, and moving along, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that just tuned in, we're following an outline on gethypnosis.com. Now, Steve, the next area talks about unlimited creativity.
Yes.
And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, if you have all this tremendous power, all this tremendous ability, you need to contribute something to the world, and unlimited creativity unlocks that part of you. Because let's face it, if you know how to compose an opera, but all you're doing is studying operas that have already been composed, what good is that? When you pass away, what will you have left behind? Probably nothing. You'll just have studied what everybody else did. Unlimited creativity allows you to take the potential that we've developed in your mind and use it to make your contribution to the world, whatever it is, whether it's something as small as a drawing or something as large as building a city. Whatever it is that you have in your mind and in your heart to bring forth into this world, we want to see it. We want to see the results of you having all this brain power. If you have all this brain power, why waste it? Why not contribute through creativity, no matter how small or how large, something to the world?
And that makes perfect sense. And the next topic is past life regression. That's another interesting area. Steve, can you explain how this will play a role in developing brain power?
Sure. Past life regression, as I mentioned earlier, is when Denise called, I believe, and she asked, what is the most dramatic, or something like that, the most dramatic or amazing example that I've ever seen of somebody's brain power at work? Well, past life regression has got to be it. The ability that the brain has. Now, whether you believe in past lives or not, that's a completely different discussion. But your brain has the ability to remember things which may be from a past life. At least it has these things in it. When I do a past life regression on somebody and regress them to the past, well, you may think that they're just making up something or remembering something from this life and changing it, or that there's an actual past life. Whatever the case is, you've got to admit, this is an example of the brain showing that it goes way beyond just a three-dimensional object that weighs 13 pounds that I can hold in my hands. It goes way beyond that. It goes into something called the mind, which is dynamic and infinite and able to create things or actually remember things, depending on your belief system about past life regression. But no matter what you believe, past life regression is going to open your mind. It's going to push your mind in directions that you haven't even thought of. It's going to allow you to see the possibilities of something beyond this life. No matter what your beliefs are, this is going to open your mind to thinking in a different way. And that's what a lot of this is about. You know, when kids who become successful are raised by parents, it's usually by parents who are successful in many cases. Kids of doctors become doctors. And that's just the way a lot of this goes. Now, why is that? Would they have a doctor gene or something? I don't think so. I don't think there's a gene to become a doctor. I think what it is, and actually beyond I know from reading research, what it is they're exposed to certain things as kids. Their crib is more interesting. It's got more lively things. It's got colors and sounds and things to squeeze and things to touch, and that's the way their life goes. Their parents are always introducing interesting things for them to interact with, which stimulate their minds. Well, past life regression is no different. If you want to, even as an adult, if you want to expand your mind and have more brain power, you have got to take yourself out of what I call the black and white of your everyday reality. If all you're seeing is I wake up, I go to work, I go home, I watch TV and go to bed, guess what? Your brain's not going to improve at all. You have got to start doing things differently. You've got to expose yourself to new and interesting concepts, to read magazines you wouldn't normally read, to go places you wouldn't normally go to talk to people you wouldn't normally talk to, and to introduce yourself to concepts which are new, perhaps even somewhat threatening to you. Perhaps it sounds a little off the beaten path, but that's okay, because that's what increasing brain power is all about. You've got to stretch the boundaries of your mind. So that's why past life regression is in here.
Okay, wonderful. And I know that topic, past life regression, in itself is extremely popular. So it's interesting to hear that can actually play a role in developing someone's brain power.
Absolutely.
And now moving along, Steve, we are running out of time, but we do have a few moments left. Last but not least, you talk about improving eyesight. What role does that take in improving brain power?
Well, your brain has the ability to help you improve your eyesight, and nothing is more dramatic than a physical, organic reaction to hypnosis. For example, in the 1950s, there were a lot of experiments done where they would cause someone to bleed just a little bit on their arm or finger, and the person was able to control that bleeding with their mind. Well, now hypnosis is used in dentistry to help control bleeding, to help people heal more quickly. We know, and we can demonstrate through experimentation, that your brain can control your body on a physiological level. Yogis can slow their heart rate way, way down, for example. There are all sorts of things that can happen when you take control of your mind and start using the power of hypnosis. So improving eyesight is one of those things that you can do, and you can see a dramatic change. And that's really going to, if you have any eyesight problems, even if you don't, you can always use this recording to make sure that your eyesight remains perfect. But when you literally see the change that your brain has undergone as just a result of you believing that it can, well, that's really going to open your mind to believing the possibilities are, in fact, realities for you.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And Steve, before we end off, I've noticed on GetHypnosis.com, on the main page there, well, first I have two questions. First, I want to ask you, so with every enrollment, does this mean that you will have a one-on-one, it says here, 30-minute phone consultation? I wanted to confirm that for everyone listening. And second of all, how are you doing it with all of these sign-ups?
Well, we're getting a tremendous, as you can see, we're getting a tremendous amount of sign-ups. We're getting a few people signing up every minute here, and I think that's wonderful. Just everybody keep on signing up. Take advantage of this special offer while it lasts. And again, it's at GetHypnosis.com, and we're talking about the Brain Power series, but that goes for any series on there. If you already have that, which many people do now, you can get any other series or several series. And for each one you get, yes, I am willing to give you a half-hour free phone consultation. Now, a lot of you have seen my prices on the website, and you know that for an hour with me it's $1,500. That's because I have a lot of clients, and I have gotten very busy, and my time has become very valuable, and that's just the way it goes. But what I want to do at the same time is make myself available. I don't want to close myself off from helping people. That's not right. So normally a half hour with me would be $750, but we don't even want to do that. We just want to give it to you. I want to make sure that you understand how to use this series. So when you buy any of the series, you're going to get a half hour with me. If you buy 2, you get an hour. If you buy 3, you get an hour and a half. For every series you buy, you get a half hour free phone consultation, and we can do anything you want during that half hour. If you want to have a mini hypnosis session, that's fine. If you want to pick my brain about how best to use the series, that's fine. If you want to talk about something else related to hypnosis, that's fine. We're talking about giving you a little part of me that's going to improve your life. It's going to give you that competitive edge that you wouldn't ordinarily have.
And that's a very generous offer, Steve, and I'm sure that there will be many people that will take you up on that. And unfortunately, we're just about out of time, but I would like to say thank you to everyone who called in with the questions. And Steve, as always, it was a pleasure and an honor to do this teleconference with you.
Oh, you too, Frank. And for those of you who, I saw the switchboard lit up, for those of you who we didn't get to, please feel free to call in next time, or if there's something I can help you with, if you want to just go ahead and take advantage of one of the memberships, you and I will have a half hour one-on-one to talk about anything you want to talk about, so we'll be glad to take care of you. But keep tuning in to the teleseminars. We're happy to present them because we're talking about things which benefit you and improve your life. And Frank, as always, it's an extreme honor to be doing this with you.